Miss Boles.
Hi, Addie.
Okay, so, oops. So what were women's roles growing up in Oregon in the 70s?
Okay, well let me see. I moved to Oregon in I think 1979.
That's cool.
So before that in the 70s, I was in West Virginia and then
That's cool.
California. And from my little kid perspective, the role in my own family was through second grade, my mom stayed home.
That's cool.
And my dad worked at a college.
Hmm.
And that had been what my mom had expected growing up. That
Yeah.
she'd been a teacher, but then you get married and you stay at home and
Yeah.
help with the kids. But then my dad lost his job and we moved to California a year, and he was taking classes at Berkeley. And so my mom needed an income, and
Yeah.
she'd actually been babysitting some for other families as she took care of us after school in West Virginia. So she did that in California, and I don't know how we could afford anything on that salary.
May I ask, what did she do?
What?
Like, what did she do for a job?
Well, in California, she was just taking care of kids after
that's
school.
Cool. Oh,
so,
I see. That's what you do.
Yeah. You know, my brother and I would be there hanging out. We were at an apartment building, and some of the other working moms paid my mom to watch their kids after school. And she gave them piano lessons too, a few of them.
Cool.
Then we moved to Eugene, Oregon, because they had been there before I was born, and they loved Eugene, and they had friends and family there already. And my dad still didn't have a teaching job, and my mom looked for teaching jobs, but it's pretty hard to transfer her certificate.
Yeah.
And so she got a job at the university as a secretary, even though she had a master's degree.
Wow, that's crazy.
You know, in the 60s, not a lot of women, well, more women were going to college, but less were going to graduate school, and she had a master's degree in education.
Wow.
A very tiny percent of women had that kind of degree, and she was very smart.
Yeah.
But she did what she needed to help support her family. And it wasn't, she was a secretary. The U of O, I always thought was a cool place to go to visit her. She was a great secretary. She, by 1980, had at least said teaching would be more stressful. She didn't want to be on stage all the time, and I don't know if she had anxiety that she never took medicine for, but
that's fair.
I take medicine for my anxiety, so it all balances out.
Yeah.
So that's what she did through the 80s, and I think that opened her eyes to the needs of women, that you don't always get the life you want, and it's hard to be the one working and still cooking and cleaning and stuff, which honestly she still did most of, and so did my dad, my husband's mom. Even though she was a working mom, a teacher,
that's crazy.
They were both the ones that came home and cooked and cleaned because their husbands did not have those skills and didn't really think about trying to upgrade their skills. And so, you know, I think that changed my mom's awareness, and I had the awareness of a teenager, which wasn't a lot, seeing how much my mom did, and and not really thinking in terms of other women's roles around me. You know, I mean, I saw my grandparents, and my grandma was the one that cooked and cleaned. Although, interestingly, as a missionary's wife, she worked super hard.
Wow.
And she led a choir and different groups, and some of her students turned out to be really great musicians, and
Good.
one of them became the conductor of the Mexico Symphony or something like that. So she was a hard-working woman, and
Yeah.
actually all women that stay at home, a lot of them working 9 to 5 too, plus
Yeah.
the night shift.
Which that's insane. I can't imagine like cooking and cleaning over that and all that stuff.
I know, but you know, I do. My husband does a lot more cooking
That's cool.
than maybe he shares that with me, and he goes
Yeah.
to get the groceries. I still do most of the cleaning, and so I think about that as a feminist club sponsor. Why am I still doing more of the
Yeah.
cleaning? But part of that, I just, you know, even last night was thinking, well, if I lived at home, I'd be doing the dishes
Yeah.
too, and I'd still have to clean the bathrooms
Yeah.
and stuff. So it's not like everything's perfect now, but my choices are, I feel, more satisfying to me than the other choices, which might be more liberated, but I'd still be cleaning.
Yeah.
I mean, one nice thing a lot of people do these days is pay to someone else to have their house cleaned.
Yeah.
I'm a McCoy, and we're very Scottish. We don't like to pay people to do things we can do ourselves.
So fair.
So, you know, those are my own little quirks as
Yeah.
far as every feminist is unique.
Yeah.
And I really didn't see, I mean, I knew a lot of my friends' moms stayed at home. Some worked. My friend Cindy's mom was kind of a co-manager of this Walgreens type store in town. But I really, and I knew I was gonna go to college, and
Yeah.
I thought about being a lawyer or doctor.
That's cool.
And mainly to prove to my uncle that women could be anything. And my parents, even when they sort of lived a traditional
Yeah.
lifestyle when they could, as far as gender roles, had always told me I could do anything
That's really
and
cool.
be anything. So that I felt was liberating.
Yeah.
And one really cool thing my dad did in high school is insist that I learn how to change a tire and change the oil
That's
on
cool.
my car, and I was very proud of that skill, and
Yeah.
that's something Mike's dad never taught him how to do, and so I feel like those were kind of neat things.
Yeah.
And you know, my mom in her role with dad, they were always a partnership, and she did not promise to obey him, and
That's good.
they thought things through, and mom questioned him, and you know, they didn't always agree, and they had a very respectful, equal partnership.
That's really good.
Except for the fact that mom did all the cooking and cleaning,
Yeah.
but you know.
You know. So speaking of that though, like her doing all the cooking and cleaning, even though they were pretty, well, sounds like they were traditional, but not as traditional as they could have been.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. So what similarities do you see between modern feminism today, or like just women's rights in general, and the civil rights, or like the women's rights movement in the 50s and the 60s and all that stuff?
Let's see. Well, I feel like since Roe v. Wade was overturned, I feel like a lot more women have been shocked into realizing, oh my goodness, we don't have as much rights as we've taken for granted.
Yeah. And did you ever believe that that would be something that would have gotten overturned? Or did you ever think that was something that was in jeopardy, even though it was always questioned?
I heard it was in jeopardy politically, but yeah, I guess I was sort of just always hoping it would go on
Yeah.
being the same. I mean, I feel like my husband was probably more realistic about the fact that it could be overturned. And
Yeah.
I've made, political decisions based on that, taking that into the equation when voting for politicians, as
Yeah.
those rights need to be protected. And so I feel like now women as a group have been more threatened with visible oppression than we had been in 40 years, and so maybe more people are anxious about it and aware and off the sidelines and needing to protest and feeling some of those searching for strategies that people needed in the 60s,
Yeah.
that a lot of women had kind of just taken for granted. And it seems like as a culture, once a year in the news it would come up that, oh, women still aren't getting paid the same. And
Yeah.
I'd mentioned that, in a few lectures in class, but it was getting hard to even demonstrate to students that women still faced inequality because it doesn't show itself every day.
Yeah.
But I feel like maybe women know it.
Yeah.
Internally, even if we're not talking about it all the time. That anyway, at least I felt more threatened, even as a woman not able to get pregnant again by the time the law was overturned, just feeling like, how dare the whole system question women and their doctor choices in a way that men are never questioned. How dare they question my right to drive to another state or go see a doctor or counselor or advise a younger woman on her pregnancy options. It just feels very visceral.
Yeah. It's very angering.
Yeah.
So how do you think we have declined so much, or not even so much, but how do you think we've declined from the 70s to now with Roe v. Wade and all that?
Well, I feel like the system, and as an insider in school, I feel like that's part of the problem. People don't talk about it in school a lot. And as a teacher, the whole attitude was with just kind of the climate. And every teacher makes different decisions in our own classroom, and Parkway's been much more supportive than probably over half the school districts in the country. But as a teacher, you go into the class knowing any day kids will go home and tell their parents what they learned or thought they heard, and they twist things, and then all of a sudden you have a conservative parent mad, calling the principal. And even if the principal and or superintendent, if necessary, supports you, those are just struggles you want to avoid as a teacher. You don't want to be arguing with parents because you have no time or energy to invest with that. And so it shapes how you teach, and what I think is that's meant whole generations grow up without critical thinking on the most important issues that affect them. What are the issues that I avoided the most talking about from 2003 to now? Abortion. I talk about women's rights, but I rarely mentioned abortion or Roe v. Wade, because that would be half the class would be upset, and I have, and they're truly isn't time to give every issue a great thought process.
Yeah.
So why go through an ordeal that will threaten your job?
Right.
So I feel like if that's me, multiply that by all the teachers in the country, that even the ones that are willing to have that conversation with their kids. So yeah, what issues did I avoid? I avoided talking about climate change for a lot of years until the last, I think for me, 2016, and I think in 2015 I'd been invited to be the feminist sponsor.
That's cool.
And for me that was like a coming out of the closet, because before that you were supposed to be kind of, this mysterious teacher that no one's supposed to be able to guess your politics, which is stupid.
That is really stupid.
But once you're the feminist club sponsor, it's like, well, guess my politics.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as intimidated by that.
That's
and
good.
I was madder at the environment.
Yeah.
But it still didn't mean I had time or like curriculum justification.
Yeah.
You can go a whole year of 2 years of curriculum on U.S. and world history and not teach about climate change because there's too much else to do, and most of the teachers weren't taught about climate change or inequality or abortion. And those are the issues we don't know as much about and that we have the most division about. And so there's just this host of reasons the American system fails society, because then we have to assume adults are figuring this out. And lots do in college, but lots don't go to college. And so their history, high school social studies, which they barely paid attention to at the time, is the last time they ever thought about those things.
Wow, and they don't develop that critical
And so then they don't vote, or they go out and vote when they're very uninformed about history or current events, and then our democracy's failing. And so it's a discouraging thing that I feel like I've been a part of, but I don't know how I could have done anything differently and kept my job, because honestly I had, in my early years of teaching, some parents questioning me and trying to target, Nixon comes off so bad in your class, why that's unfair, and your politics must be different than my kids, and that's why you graded them. They didn't get an A in your honors class,
That's so stupid.
I'm a part of a problem, but I've always tried to hope that students get some critical thinking in my class, and as they get older, and hear more and have more conversations with peers and other teachers and go to college, that they build that structure to be thinkers and go out and vote and be proud of their own views and think and try and reflect on history and equality. I feel like I always emphasized equality and the struggles of people that were unequal in society, to hopefully give people a springboard to deeper thoughts as adults.
And honestly, it's important to have backlash. If you don't have backlash, then you won't think about, or the people who are mad about it won't think about what they're mad about. Does that make sense? Like, if they come calling to you, then at least they're thinking about the subject.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you could hope. And there are some times that I feel like, that would be great if a conservative parent or teacher wanted to question me and have a further conversation. But usually that's filtered through them calling a principal.
That's fair.
And not wanting to have a real dialogue. By the time it gets to them, they're a little more defensive and accusatory. They're more on a platform of they felt targeted and they're gonna target me. They're not coming into it saying, wow, I'd never heard that about history. I wish I could take your class. Can you send me the slides? I know. So.
Yeah, that's fair.
But, I mean, and the big thing, point of view, it's most parents are very supportive, or even if not supportive, they haven't been intrusive or targeting. And so I appreciate everyone that hasn't taken the effort to try and complain or lash out. And that's, you know, probably 98% of the parents in Parkway.
Well, thank you so much for this interview.
My pleasure.
I really appreciate
and if we
it.
didn't get to